Welcome to the Rainmaker Multiplier on Demand, a podcast for leading financial professionals, or Rainmakers, and their teams that offer support for securing a successful future. From marketing help to staffing structure, listen and subscribe for actionable insights from advisors and skilled professionals alike.
Thank you for joining us for this week's coffee break. We are now officially into summer, I think today, although depending on where you are living, might have felt like that for a few weeks now. Even in Cleveland, Ohio, we've had 90-degree days already, so don't get those typically here. But getting into today's topic, we know during the summer, these can be slower months, and so we brought in two amazing guests today who are going to share ideas on how they use this time to keep momentum going in their practice, either with the client appreciation or other special events. We have guest barista Grace Nicholson, lead advisor and owner of Akamai Advisors, and Nikki Glynn, Nikki returning marketing director at JL Smith. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Matt.
Before we jump in, I do want to point out for our listeners and those attending today to make sure you key in on what Grace and Nikki are going to share, and make sure you make note of kind of two key things that I think as you're going through and doing these things at your firm. One, that when you're doing any kind of client appreciation event, special event, lead generation event, defining success ahead of time is so important, because your goal of those events could be different, whether it's engagement with your current clients or referrals or lead generation on that side, but also that the size of the firm doesn't matter. You could be a smaller firm or a larger firm like JL Smith has become with multiple locations in multiple states. As long as you have done the planning in advance and define that success, you know what you're shooting for with the ultimate end goal of that event. And I think you're going to hear that from both Grace and Nikki today. So that we'll jump right in. I guess, Grace, we'll start with you, but a question for both of you. Could you both tell us how you got to be so passionate about holding memorable and unique client events?
I got passionate about holding these client events because of referrals, really. Referrals are the magic secret sauce, and leveraging these relationships is the best thing that we can do for our business and for our customers and for their networks as well. So that's why I'm into it. We can do all we want on lead generation and finding new prospects, but nurturing these people who are already in our circles and just getting to know them better on that deeper relationship level is really important to me and at our firm.
Great. How about you, Nikki?
I'll just piggyback on what Grace said and just say that your clients are your biggest cheerleaders. They're your front row. But when you plan fun events that are exciting for them to come to, they want to bring people with them. And it's just a fun, cool way for them to introduce their closest pals to us. And when we ask, we're never told, no, I'm not interested in that. But we do try to pair the right event with the right client. I will say that's also a key.
Well, and kind of how we open, as we discussed, the summer months being slower for many of us, not everyone, it can be a good time to plan for future events too, for engaging the prospects and clients. Why is it important to hold events, especially ones that are different from the norm? And Grace, I'll come back to you because I know you've had some very unique ones you shared. Could you share those?
Yes, I specifically target, my niche is women and widows, divorcees, right? But just women and women in wealth. So I like to do these women in wealth presentations on a retreat level. And we've done a few of these, which are for some higher net worth clients and their friends, and just some of our warm market of like business owners that we know that we want to get a little closer with. So these retreats are 1 to 2 nights. We've done 2 nights, but we're talking about doing some one-nighters, because you really get a lot closer with these prospects, get to know them. They really get to know you as a person and not just as a professional, and matching all the other kind of meetings that they have with other people. It's just a completely different relationship. And specifically, I think women want to feel very comfortable and close to their professionals. So that is an avenue that we're exploring more, is these retreats and trying to find new locations. Previously, we've actually partnered with, well, not partnered, but this client of ours who owns this fabulous lake house property in McCall, Idaho, up by Sun Valley. If anyone's familiar with the area, it's picturesque. And he really just kind of let us use it. And his brother owns Unique, and that's here in Utah. And they have similar type of mountain house here in Sundance. And so that's where we're looking to host our next event. But it's great because these men who own these businesses, they already align with using their properties for women events. Like they use their space for like survivors of domestic violence and things like that. And so they already believe in that. So finding people who believe in our mission and what we're trying to do of just educate and empower and uplift women, they've offered their space at such a discounted rate for us to really get things going and investigate this. And it's worked really well. And we've made some amazing connections. The goal is to get 5 new clients from each event. And it doesn't matter if those 5 clients are the prospects there or their friends who they bring to us and do business with us as a result of their experience at the retreat.
Got it. No, thank you for sharing kind of what that target was in advance. And I'm curious too, because obviously that is a very unique thing that we hear in this network. How far out does the planning begin for an event like that, for a retreat?
6 months. So we do one in the summer, one in the winter. Yeah, pretty much 6 months apart. Kind of get the ball rolling. I mean, it takes a long time to plan. And then it also takes our clients a while, or our prospects a while, to be able to commit. So we usually give them about a 2-month ramp up for invitations and RSVPs and making sure that we've got the space filled.
Got it. And thanks for describing that. I think everyone here is hoping our training and events team is taking notes as a potential location for maybe a future collegium. Nikki, how about you? What about importance of you for holding these events? It's, especially kind of the ones that kind of break the norm.
Well, first of all, I am stealing that idea from Grace. But I'll just talk about an event that I'm planning right now that I'm pretty excited about. And the goal for this event is to invite 2 couples that are our high-level clients, and for them each to invite 2 couples to come. And it's a cooking event, and it is summertime in Italy. That is my title. And I tell them, come with us to Italy, make sure you pack your taste buds, because we're going to learn how to cook pasta, and it's an entire meal. And I already have the clients lined up, and they are so excited, and they each have people in mind that they're going to bring. And it's at Sur La Table. That's where we're going to hold it. This will be my first one at this location, but we have had other cooking events that have been very successful with clients inviting prospects to introduce to us. And the client actually do a lot of the cooking, with just the chef doing a lot of the directing. And so we insert ourselves in there beside the prospects and our advisors, and I get to tag along. And so it's just a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, and we're in Florida, so it's sweltering. And so everything that we like to do in the summer is, a lot of the things are inside. We have had golf lessons with a golf pro before, and we have a big back room that we like to use for some of these events. And so he came in and talked a little bit about the history of golf in the area, because it's really big down here, and just gave some hints and tips. And that was big. So the guys love that. And I know that our Ohio office has a golf event scheduled coming up. So I think it just is key that you pair what your clients like to do with whatever type of an event that you like to have.
And like you said, that's why it's so important to, if you have that data, and if you don't, survey them, use those times where you have those interactions to ask that. Grace, I had our next question for you, and I see we have one in the chat, so I'm going to kind of combine them a little. I know you talked about your successful retreats and what your target is there for the number of referrals there. Such an innovative idea there. I was going to ask, or am asking, if you could maybe provide a couple of successes that you saw. So I know that's your target, but what did you see from those? And then we also had a question in the chat, if you could address kind of with that, what kind of activities do you have at the retreat? So maybe those activities led to some of those successes.
Yeah. Well, we do a few different types of activities. The last retreat we did, we had a wellness coach come in, kind of like a life coach. She has a background in social work and she's a therapist. So she did a great exercise with us about our vision board and helping women kind of like think bigger. And the ladies did these exercises, which was over about 3 different lessons. So we probably did about 2.5 hours of practice and like workshop with this lady. And she's another business owner that kind of helped come in and say, I'd like to help with this endeavor and participate in the cost and all of that. So she was one of our contributors. We also did an art activity, really, really fun. One of my advisors, Teresa McCulley in Idaho, she lives in Boise. She's a art teacher on the side. Her mother owns an art business. And so she has this great skill and we had so much fun. The ladies loved it. I know people who've got this like out on their mantle from the art project that we did at our retreat. We did a music activity, right? Karaoke. Nothing like exposing yourself. We call it Let's Get Naked, right? Like the book by Lencioni. That's really showing your colors and like being comfortable in your skin to play karaoke. The other thing we did that was kind of getting out of your shell and facing your fear besides karaoke was glass walking. And you need a somebody who's certified in this to do this, but we had the women walk barefoot over broken glass. And that was really transformative. At first I'm like, what are we doing? And actually it was really cool to see these women be like, this is one of my like big fears in life. And to overcome something like that, the feeling that it gave them of like, wow, I'm so glad I'm here and I did this. I would have never done this otherwise. There was only one person who didn't participate. So we would start every morning with yoga, a sound bath. So it's really about, I mean, I know this might sound a little woo-woo to a lot of people, but it was very much like a healthy, wealthy women's retreat and focusing on holistic wellness, which includes financial wellness, but also slow down, take time to think about you. Like we're all so caught up as caregivers and workers and doing our part in the world that we don't oftentimes slow down and give ourselves the attention that we need. So that's really what the retreat is about.
Wow. I know you mentioned the numbers there. Like, was there a specific process you had in terms of who you started with the invites or like tiered client base, anything like that?
Yeah, on these couple that we did in McCall, Idaho, I really let Teresa be the lead on that because it was using her market and bringing me in as the advisor that she works with to just have that other layer. So I really let Teresa run that one, and she chose the clientele based on mostly their level of advocacy for her.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's not even just like the referral, it's the rapport that you've already developed during such like a unique experience like that. We did have one other quick question before we move on. How many women do you host at these events, at the retreats?
So the goal is 15. You start getting bigger numbers than that, and it's hard to get really close with people. So if we can have 15 people, that's great. The cabin, the house, the property that we've used has 12 bedrooms. So it pretty much works out. It really depends on the space, the size of the place that you're going to be. And to what Nikki was saying earlier about the couples and the cooking class, my husband and I were talking last retreat that we did. We're like, we've got to do this for couples because you get the women and they love it, right? And we're getting really close as women, but like the other part of the decision maker isn't there. And so I'd love to do this same kind of thing, but with a diamond client and their friends, 2 couples with them, and then kind of let them drive the bus on, okay, where are we going? And I'll set it all up. And so that's kind of the evolution of it, is to work this into some couple retreats, because I think that would be really magnificent for them, but also their relationship of learning about the financial wellness together and incorporating all of that.
Right. Well, now we're all going to be looking forward to hearing your results of comparing the two once you get through those. So. Nikki, how about you? I know you hold tons of events for us down in Florida, and even going back, you and Jeanette Bajalia have been great at this for years, and you shared the cooking one. but any other events that stand out for you in the past that were just interesting events in general or had successes to share with the group?
Yeah. So it was actually the kickoff of Woman's Worth, and it was a spa event for women. And we basically we rented out an entire hotel, and we rented out the part of the hotel that is the conference center. And we had a room where we had several speakers that spoke on wellness and health and taking time for yourself, etc. And then we had an area where they did mini massages, like back massages, and we had an area where they did mini manicures and pedicures. And we just asked all of our women clients to bring a friend and to introduce to us. And it was half a day of just a lot of fun. And we had great vendors, and it just, I mean, by the end of the day, you have raving fans, basically. So, and that's always the goal. And really, businesses are happy to help you with this. I mean, because they might gain clients from it as well. So it's a mutually beneficial community type of event. That's what you feel like at the end of the day. So that sticks out in a lot of people's mind. I still hear people talk about it 12 years later. So we probably should repeat it at some point in time. I will say women do not go anywhere alone, right? So use that to your advantage.
No, thanks for sharing. I know even before we move on, I know I want to share one that we've done at J.L. Smith in the past. And Suzanne Scheinman, I know many of Suzanne conducted this one for us during COVID. And actually, I want to give credit. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I think it was in one of these sessions, but before we called it coffee break, the evolution of that. But it was an idea of doing a drive-in movie during COVID that we got from another advisor in the C2P network here. So make sure we're leveraging our own community and sharing and borrowing these ideas. But we, during COVID, rented out a drive-in theater and did Back to the Future as a drive-in. They let us do our own little movie clip. It was like a 5-minute commercial kind of thing to thank them for attending in advance. And probably the best part is we had Brian Bibbo and Jeff Warkin dressed up as Marty and Doc. So yes, we have pictures to prove it. And I think it was Suzanne actually tracked down a DeLorean. So we have pictures of all that. So for me, that was one of our more memorable ones over at J.L. Smith. And if you have any that you want to share, again, please drop those in the chat and share those ideas with the group so we can continue to build off those as a community. Because that's, like I said, our idea came from one of you. So thank you for making that special for us. Grace, I will come back to you again. And this is kind of a two-parter too. So the other part of these summer months can be used for planning for the rest of the year and building off the following years. Can you offer any tips to everyone that's either having trouble generating ideas for events or kind of what measurements to look at to help with the planning part moving on into the rest of the year?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to learn from a lot of you guys about what events to do in the summer. In fact, the movie was something on my mind that I haven't tried before. So I'm definitely looking into that. For our own events planning, I do back off of the live events for prospects in the summer, but I do pick up for my clients. And so looking at a movie event to get out of the heat and enjoy like an air-conditioned movie about retirement. Hopefully, I know Stonewood is putting out a new movie. That's the one I'm waiting for. That's going to be narrated by the guy that wrote The Psychology of Money. So I'm looking forward to that, but also planning a beneficiary event for my clients and their beneficiaries so that I can honor them as clients and also introduce myself to their children if I haven't met them already. A lot of people, they're too busy in the summer to make time for some educational event, but if it's a benefit directly to their beneficiaries to make sure that they know what the heck to do if their loved one dies and be prepared for that, they'll make time for it. It's more important. It's not just come check us out and get a donut or a free lunch or something. It's really like this is an important responsibility that you have and you need to be aware of that and kind of just go through everything that's in the family estate organizer. Right. So those are some things that we're gearing up for is some client focused events around their beneficiaries. I am looking to do a movie Also planning a community shred event for late September, kind of like a back to school, back to work after the summer local event. So we're working on about 3 things, I guess, to kind of get us through the next month and a half. But I'm really open to ideas. I love Nikki's cooking class, Summer in Italy. I'm going to have to use that. I think that's great. We have a sur la table here too, and I haven't been there, so I'm all about it.
No, nice. And yeah, I know we actually do a nice shred event every year, JL Smith as well. We have a lot of success and a lot of fun with that with our clients as well.
When do you guys typically do it? Is it the same time every year?
Yeah, I think Suzanne actually just dropped something in the chat too, right after tax season. Yeah.
Yep.
Nikki, how about you? Any tips for generating ideas or what numbers to look at, kind of how to analyze how the events have been going so far?
Yeah, something came to my mind that really might be helpful for you all, and I'm happy to talk with anybody later on about it. But we have something called a client advisory board, and basically it's all of our biggest raving fans, and we get them together once a quarter and we have dinner. We go to like a private room at a restaurant, and basically we ask them what they like to do. This is where we get so many of our ideas. This last time somebody said, well, I like to go sailing on the weekend. And I thought, well, why can't we do a sailing at sunset with like little charcuterie boards or something? And so I just told Matt about this week. So there's a brand new big sailboat that does sunset cruises, and Jacksonville is known as the city of rivers. We have a lot of water all around. So I'm looking into that for August. And I think that will be loads of fun. That will be a lead generation type of an event as well. But the client advisory board, get together your biggest cheerleaders and ask them to give input on what types of events would they want to bring their friends to introduce to you. So just an idea.
No, thank you for sharing. And I guess to kind of put a bow on that topic too, what I'll say is for any of you that either attended our retreat in December or did your own annual planning, use this time to look at where you are so far this year and to see what do I need to do to hit these 2024 goals I had by the end of the year. And that might impact how many events or how big an event you need to hold. As you've heard kind of the success from both Grace and Nikki of how many attendees and referrals are getting from these events, that might help impact how many you need to hold to help you get to that number you're shooting for by the end of the year. I guess we're coming to a close, but before we end, I'd like to go back through Grace for you first. We know these events can take a lot of time and money, and you mentioned 6 months for the retreat. But what would you say to inspire an office or those that are on today or listening to go for it, to go outside the box from a creativity standpoint and make this impactful for their attendees?
It is a lot of work, and it's more than just a one day, because it's an investment of the time for me and the other vendors that we have there as well. So the biggest reason why you should do it is the feedback that you'll get from the people who attend. I've had women, we do this where we ask them to write. It can be anonymous or they can put their name on it. Just kind of a few questions, their takeaways from the event. And we've had testimonials of like, this is one of the most life-changing weekends I've ever had. This is one of the most enriching times with other women that I've ever had. And so I would say that feedback is why you should go through the effort to do it, because it's so different. Who else is doing that with these people? The referral really goes a long way when it's coming from someone who says, this was one of the most enriching experiences I've ever had. That's why you should do it.
Yep, hard to put price on that. Nikki, how about you?
Well, I would just say that if you're not already doing events of the sort like what Grace and I have spoken about, I would say start small. Start small, and the planning is key, and you have a lot of resources to help you. I'm happy to help anybody that has questions. And
oh, that was a dangerous invite.
I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. But if you start small and just gauge how that works, then you can go from there. So
good advice.
Again, Grace, Nikki, thank you both very much. Very valuable insight across the board. Hope everyone really appreciated that. Thank you all for joining us today. Next week's topic, we will be celebrating National Insurance Awareness Day. So be sure to tune in next Thursday. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast was brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Never miss an episode by subscribing now to discover new resources and strategies. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help scale and secure your business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.